MajorTim.space Honorary Young Ambassador, and this is Ellie Taylor-Brewin, a MajorTim.space Young Ambassador. Today we're at the UK Space Conference and we are going to be interviewing Vix Southgate. Vix, could you please introduce yourself?
Yes, hi, I'm Vix Southgate. I've been working in the space sector for 15 years now. I've done a lot of things in space, in the space sector. I've been an astronaut manager, so I've looked after astronauts who have been to the moon. I currently look after a flight director who was part of the moon landings back in the 1960s and 70s. So he is my main VIP at the moment. I also do branding, logos for the space sector, communications and engagement.
So, Vix, you're a manager for a former MajorTim.space patron, Al Warden. Can you tell us how you landed this incredible role?
That's a very good question, actually. So I went to meet Al in Manchester at it was a Cosmicon, so it was one of these signing events that he was at, and it was fascinating actually, because I walked up to him and he was chatting to the person next to him, and I just walked up and I introduced myself, and I'd actually been told to go and introduce myself by a friend of his. So I said, Francis French, he's told me to say hi, and so he welcomed me, just sort of got up and gave me a huge hug. I was expecting a handshake, but he gave me a huge hug, and he was like, any friend of Francis's is a friend of mine, and that was it. That's how we met. We did our first event about 5 months later, which was in Oxford in the UK, and from that point in time, he sort of said, "Can you be my European manager?" And I was like, let me have a think of that. Oh God, So that's how I got to know Al, and that's how I got to work with him for 5 years.
And what's it like working with Al?
Oh, it was a blast, as he would have put it. He was so much fun. He had so much energy. He was in his 80s when I met him. I thought he was in his 60s. He had that much energy, and he would just make me laugh all the time. He would always be there for all the kids. He would always be saying hi to all the kids, engaging with all the kids. He was very, very good. And I'm sorry did you get to meet him?
I don't think I did.
No, well, that's a shame, because he was lovely. He loved you too.
You said you did your first event in Oxford. What happened at this event?
Well, the event was an evening with Albert, and so he did a talk to a room full of people, and it was at the end of the British Interplanetary Society's Reinventing Space Conference, and he got given his 2 world record certificates by the Guinness World Records people as well. So his world records were, he was the most isolated human in history, because he was in the capsule that was going around the moon when everybody else was down on the moon. And because he was in this capsule, the way that they were doing the orbit, it was the furthest away on the dark side of the moon. So his friends, all these people that were, the other 2 that were on the moon, were on this side of the moon. He was in the capsule on that side of the moon, and everybody else on Earth was all the way over there. So he was the furthest person from humanity. So he was so isolated up there, but he wasn't lonely. And this is interesting. So isolation and loneliness are 2 different things.
How long did he spend up there?
He was up there for 75 orbits of the moon, but they took, going back a lot of years now, if you're testing me on my history, I think it was 2 weeks there, 3 days around the moon, and 2 weeks back. Amelia will probably know better than I do.
It doesn't sound like that long.
It doesn't say. Was it 2 weeks in total? I think actually, it was 2 weeks in total. It's been 5 years since I've spoken about Al and his mission, so I completely have forgotten quite a lot. And then his other one was he did the first deep space walk. So on his trip back from the moon, he had to get out of the capsule in deep space and go and get all the film cameras in, because they had a science bay on the side of the capsule. He had to go and get all those film canisters in. and so that they didn't get burnt up in re-entry when they got back to Earth. So he got that was the very first one, and so nobody's ever going to take that away from him.
What advice would you give to young people looking to pursue a career in space?
Ooh. Do what you love. That's what Al said. That's what a lot of other people say. Because a lot of people don't actually start out life wanting to be an astronaut. But they become an astronaut because they've done something throughout their life that they really love, which means they really excel at it, which then means that they are then going and they're actually being able to use their expertise, their passions and everything, and use it in space. So like Helen Sharman was a chemist, but she went up into space and she does science outreach and everything like that now. Tim Peake, helicopters, flight, all of that sort of stuff, and he went up into space. So, you know, they didn't start off wanting to be astronauts, but they became astronauts, and they're inspirational, I think.
Yeah. Thanks so much for doing the interview.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.